Hi everyone, Maria Banga here. Maria Banga, founder of the association Hope for the Abused and the Battered. It's been such a long while since I did a live video on this page. Um, I have tried to not not get emotional about cases and not wait for cases to come up and then I talk about them, and to just kind of stick to just giving people hope through my own personal experiences, my day-to-day life and everything. That was my initial idea. Yet when cases like the one I'm going to talk about today come up, there's no way I can stay insensitive to this. uh, this is a case that I learned of while I was away on a spiritual sabbatical, and I just got off it on the 21st of January. So I am gradually getting back into the social media scene per se, and I wanted to make this case the first case that is going to uh, the first case I'm really going to be talking about on this page, not only because I want to talk, but because I want to garner support, no matter how little, for the case, kind of. I'm a lawyer and I know how much we can spend sometimes in going about with a case. I remember when I was on the case of another little child that was violently and sexually abused and sodomized in a Bolova. How many trips I made to a Bolova, how much it cost us, and we did get some support, yet there was so much medical cost to incur and the family to sustain, because, well, the mother had to drop out of school. The father, who was barely hanging in there, he had to also be there with the mother in Yaoundé. So we spent a lot of money, and I do realize that we always need support, and it's not a bad thing to ask for help. We didn't do a GoFundMe back at the time. We just counted on goodwill and our friends and other people. Other people did donate some money, although it really cost a lot of money, because the child had to go through 4 surgeries, and the hospital bills and the transportation and the feeding and all of those things, millions. The founder of the association, the Network for Solidarity, Hope and Empowerment, whom I respect very much, is a big sister of mine. That's how I call her, Belt Sonke. She also brought this case to my attention, just like she had brought the other one to my attention. It's in Yaoundé, so I cannot leave Douala to go to Yaoundé when they can put together a collective of lawyers in Yaoundé. People have become sensitive enough to this kind of cases to kind of volunteer their services pro bono. If we raise money, fine. If we don't raise money, you are doing this for the public cause. When one person goes through something as traumatic as Chantal went through, the collective psychic is affected. Whatever we want to say, we will now start being watchful and scared and troubled. Now, the case of Chantal is that of a young girl who was 15 years when she met this man, or when this man lured her. Because for me, at 15 years, you don't have your faculties all together. Your brain is not fully developed. So you might find some things attractive at that age. Actually, that is the puberty for women, and what do you call this for men? You call it, they say, the adolescent stage, and the hormones are raging. And I know what I'm talking about. I have kids. My last son is turning 14 soon, and for him, he started like maybe a year ago or some months ago, and his own is hitting him really hard as compared to his other brothers. So at the age of 15, even 14, what do you know as a young girl? And secondly, Chantal, as I gather, is an orphan, or was an orphan. See, I cannot even talk about her in the past tense. Was an orphan, and sometimes you are so vulnerable that anybody who comes around and is making promises and telling you I will even marry you or I will send you abroad and all of those things, you say, well, why not? And then one thing leads to the other. And just like when you get on drugs, or when you indulge in something, to kind of get an out of body experience, or to kind of feel like you're in control and all of that, you end up becoming addicted, or you end up becoming kind of like used to this thing, or you want some more. So it's not easy to break off such an illicit relationship. I know what I'm talking about. I myself, I'll put my hand up to say, yes, I wasn't 15, but I have gotten into this kind of relationships too. I hear that this man is old enough to be her grandfather, in his mid 50s, and that he's some secretary general in some ministry somewhere in this country. And I'm like, at that age, what are you even looking for in those young children? We might want to blame the girl, but what? No, we shouldn't do that. And then when she's gone, so if we blame her, then what? That will just show how insensitive and how careless we as a society are. This is something that everybody should be furious, should share this, should make that man repay. Because see, Shantal is probably not the first, and Shantal will not be the last. They know that they have the money, they know they have the influence, they know that, well, nobody can do anything to them. I think that they just know that they're small gods. If they could decide when they will live and when they will die, then it might have been obvious that they have it all. But no, they cannot, because such a man, I should guess, should be married and should have a family. So what is he telling his wife and his children? Can you imagine if he has a daughter? If that kind of a thing were to happen to his daughter, if a friend of his or a colleague of his should just go out with his daughter, and just go to bed with her, not even get her pregnant, how is he going to feel? I think that this man is the sole person to be blamed in this case. How would you even do that? We sometimes want to blame the rape victim. We want to, what were you wearing? What were you doing there? What were you talking to so and so person? Could he not advise Shantal, even if Shantal were kind of getting interested and succumbing to his advances? He could say, no, my daughter, I was just joking. I was just trying, no, I think that you should focus on your studies and stuff. You can even help somebody without going to bed with them. You can. Must you? I mean, seriously, why should a man who is almost 3 times your age? Let me see, Shantal was 15. So what am I talking about 3 times? 15, 30, 45. Maybe getting to 4 times your age. What should he be doing going to bed with you? Isn't that an abomination, or a sign that this man could have been in a court and they needed for him to go to bed with a young girl, maybe even a virgin? I don't know. So the Network for Solidarity, Hope and Empowerment, they have organized a team of lawyers, and the founder, I know because she would tell me she was in Yaoundé. She was on vacation, but she got sick, and yet she was in Yaoundé. She was going with them to the police station to make sure that, well, in Cameroon, sometimes the case can get missing, the file can get missing, right? So you need to be very vigilant. And then, well, the family had to raise money to finish paying her bills so they could have access to some information they needed and be able to, get her out of the mortuary. I think today they are removing the mortal remains today. And we are really hoping that a lot of people will mobilize themselves there in Yaoundé and all of those associations and stuff, and make this case not be forgotten so quickly. Because we need to get to that point. We cannot blame Shantal. Anyway, Shantal is gone. But we can use this case as a benchmark and say to these perpetrators, no is no, don't do that. Don't take advantage of young children. She was still a minor by the law. And so even if a minor says yes, it is still considered no. No minor has no right to say yes to a sexual relationship. No, they are not. The age of consent is 16, so 15 years is minor. People, if it were your child, are you going to be waiting to find out and pull the child's ear and say, who sent you? Blah, blah, blah. I will match. I don't even... I was known as a fighter when I was in primary school. I would fight for my junior brother. I don't want to know what he did. You have no business touching my brother, making my brother cry. That is how fierce I was. So just imagine if I have a daughter, or when I had my stepsister, she was living with me. She's my daughter. She's 19. My first son is 19. He's kind of a few months older than her. So just imagine that kind of a thing happened. And when she was still a minor, I don't want to know whether she said yes, I'm going along or not, and stuff like that. No, I don't want to know. You are going to answer for it. So now I don't really think, even as a psychotherapist, as a minister of the word, all of that, let's look at it from all angles. There's no point in blaming Shantal or her family. And then this is a family who just took her in. They're struggling. How much time do they have to devote to all of those children? And well, children are children. I have 3. You can, I raise all of them the same. I raise all of them the same, but they are all different. And I just pray for each and every one of them now, based on. But those are 3. Just imagine if there are 6 children in a household. One of them starts going wild west. You just allow them to go wild west. You don't have that time, because you have to also maybe go and walk so you can put food on the table, sometimes just take care of your own self. So it's not an easy thing. I don't think that this is the time to be blaming Shantal or her family. That wouldn't be fair at all. Because if it happens to you, you wouldn't want nobody to blame you. You're not going to start blaming your child or your niece. No, you will want vengeance first. You want justice first. And this is what we want to get now. We want justice for Shantal. She might have been negligent. Okay, well, so what do we do now? What do we do? Do we lay her to rest and maybe use the case later on to talk to our own children and everything? Yet now, make sure that this man is brought to book. I heard that the man had initially filed a complaint against the family, dragged them to court or to the judiciary or to the police or something like that, saying that they were extorting money from him. So escroquerie, that's what you say in French. What is escroquerie in English? I've forgotten, but yeah, making money out of him using false means and everything. So the man did not refuse that he had a relationship with Shantal. I also hear that he would even pay some hospital bills, and he has said yes, but so there has at least been some acknowledgement, and that could be used as evidence against him. So this is not something like, no, I didn't, no, she forced herself on me. No. So what would a man in his mid-50s be doing with a 15-year-old? That is the question. If I were part of that team, I would refuse and deflate completely any question that is brought against the character of the child, Shantal. First of all, she's dead. So she's no more alive. So it is the man who is on the stand. It's the man who is being accused. And in a criminal matter, you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that you didn't do something. It's not like in a civil matter where you say you are innocent until proven guilty, or it's a 50-50 thing. No. Oh yeah, we have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that you did something. Sorry, in a criminal matter, we have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. And the state can prove it. Then there's evidence. The man has paid some bills. We're paying those bills on basis of what? Charity? Who asked you for that? Because when I put something on and people respond, yeah, they can say, well, you asked us. But if I did not ask and you give me, okay, well, then that's charity. And then if it gets out of hand, well, you're going to say, did I really ask you? Or you just felt sorry for me because I have an association and you were just sending me money, which is something very rare, by the way. For me, I'm not going to talk too long, because my grandson, as I call her, she has done videos and I was just listening to another one again this morning. But I just want to appeal to your good consciences right now, especially people who can donate to the GoFundMe account, because I know that people in Cameroon could say, oh, I don't know how to donate to GoFundMe and all of those things. You can reach out to her. You can reach out to the Network for Solidarity, Hope and Empowerment through Messenger, And they can tell you how you can donate if you are in Cameroon, by mobile money or stuff like that. I volunteer a lot for the Network for Solidarity, Hope and Empowerment. This is actually one of the t-shirts that we wore in the just recently ended sexual violence campaign that we do in schools. This is the 4th year I have participated. This is the 4th time that they have organized these annual campaigns. So well, we cannot go to all schools, and you might go to a school where the kids there are already into such shady situations, and well, they're just children, so they might think, oh, it's exciting, I have money and all of those things, and they think that's what life is all about. Now she's gone. Please, let's leave her out of this whole thing. It is not going to help us. We need justice for Shantal. We don't want to crucify Shantal. She's already dead. We have this man, the alleged perpetrator, the man who himself has admitted that yes, he did have a relationship with her, but he did not. People will always say things. So he was paying hospital bills on the basis of what? He was communicating with the family and telling them not to blackmail him. Blackmail him from what? If somebody is doing charity for you, you instead be very appreciative. So I think the onus, frankly speaking, in this case should be on the man. And it's not difficult to push it to him. And I think that the prosecution and this college of lawyers, I know that my colleagues all over, they don't play when it comes to matters like this, because as she says, it could be your child, it could be your sister, it could be your niece. Wow, it could be your cousin, it could be your friend's daughter. When I look at her pictures, I'm like, oh, what a life cut short. That man's conscience would not forgive him for the rest of his life. He has blood on his hands. Maybe it's not the first case, these people, but I appeal to you once more, please. If you can support, you can donate anything to that GoFundMe, go donate. And you can also support by sharing. You never know who in your own platform could be moved enough, donate $10, $5. I want to see how I can donate something too, even though I'm not there. I don't have access to, and stuff like that. But I want to see amongst my contacts who can make a donation for me, and we sort it out. So we can do that. There are several ways we can help. And if you're in Yaoundé and you can make yourself available today at 10 a.m. Cameroon time, it's already 8 a.m., but it's not too late, to just throw on something and go to the reference hospital. That's where the removal will be. Because if a crowd comes out, the powers that be would be like, what's going on? And they're going to really look into it. And we have to make some noise and knock those big doors and all of that. In Syria alone, rape is a national emergency. They don't joke with this. Their first lady herself is so involved. We are far away from there, but we can get there if we don't give up. And so I really want to applaud my big sister, Belle Tonke, frankly speaking, and her organization. If I did not believe in her and her organization, I wouldn't be volunteering there. And all the work we sometimes do behind the scenes. I'm so grateful. For me, it's an honor. And it's also another way for me to do ministry work. So all of that is close to my heart. And I thank God very much for that. And I thank God for all of you also on my page, on this page, who support me in one way or the other, and watch and listen and leave comments. The times I really die. So let's not relent. All the volunteers for the Network for Solidarity, Hope and Empowerment, I hail you all. We are usually many in different towns of the country who show up, when the annual campaign is here. But this time around, we are not going to wait for November to start talking again. We have to talk now. If we haven't yet shared this, all volunteers, please share. We are like 20 something. So this video should be shared several times, and all the other videos that have been made on the Network for Solidarity, Hope and Empowerment page. Yes, they should be shared several times. I thank you very much, everyone. I wish you a wonderful Wednesday. And may this never be the portion of any of us. Amen.